Hiya, Honest Discussioner here. Whenever there's a questions video up and I get the chance to ask someone I'm sub to about something, I always wind up asking the same set of questions. What do you think is the best argument for theism? What do you think is the worst argument for theism? And then apply those same two questions for atheism. Best and worst argument for atheism or against theism, depending on how you define atheism. I also ask what their favorite alcoholic beverage is, but that's not really important. What is important is that I have my own answers to these questions. One of those answers is bourbon. What I've normally said is the worst, or perhaps my least favorite argument for atheism or against theism, is the problem of evil. Much to the surprise of many of my fellow atheists, since many of them hold the problem of evil as one of their favorite arguments. While I've felt the problem of evil is a problem for those hardline hell hecklers having hell as a central part of their theology, universalists or those that don't preach hell have a pretty easy way out. The fact is, evil and suffering can actually be beneficial in many cases. Without suffering, we don't grow as an individual, nor as a species. Without bad people to test ourselves against, we'd never really know our true potential. So, I can see a reason for suffering, but I think up until now I've been ignoring a lot of the extra baggage that comes with even a liberal interpretation of theology that doesn't really jive with the existence of evil. I owe this revelation, in fact, to DarkAntics, who you all know better as Dark Matter 2525. We're all used to seeing Dark Matter completely destroy ideas with precision, using metaphor and story through his excellent and usually hilarious animations, but the DarkAntics channel seems to be just him directly addressing arguments and issues and doing it just as effectively. It's a strange sight to behold. I don't know if I've described this before, but it's like watching a Bruce Lee movie where he suddenly stops using martial arts and whips out a chain gun and takes out the bad guys that way. Entirely different method, same effect. Anyway, definitely subscribe to the DarkAntics channel and also to Dark Matter 2525 if you haven't already. Now, Dark Matter, or DarkAntics I should say, adds additional weight to the growing amount of evidence that Christian apologist William Lane Craig may not entirely be an honest actor by showing clips of Craig discussing the problem of evil in a way that would make you think he got a C in high school philosophy, which is to say, poorly articulating the problem of evil. At one point, DarkAntics brings up Alvin Plantinga's response to the problem of evil and the free will defense, and while DarkAntics gives a great rebuttal to Plantinga, that rebuttal gave me a few new ideas I'd like to add on to the pot. Now, I'm going to grant, for the sake of argument, free will. I know, I'm usually adamantly opposed to the idea, but for now let's just assume there is such a thing as free will. DarkAntics played a clip of Plantinga explaining the free will defense. I'll just play what he played.
The idea is that God wanted there to be creatures with free will. He wanted to create creatures in his image. An important part of that image, one of several different parts of it, would be that human beings should be free.
So 'tis better to be free than not free, in Plantinga's mind, and therefore we must be capable of moral evil. God can't force us to be good. The thing is, Dr. Plantinga, this still doesn't solve the problem of evil. One major caveat to his free will defense is that a being must be capable of moral evil, not that they must do moral evil. Take, for example, this delicious bottle of Samuel Adams Harvest Pumpkin Ale. Yes, that's what it's called. Now, this bottle is capable of being shattered. It doesn't follow that it must one day shatter. I could have it on my shelf for decades, and then one day melt it down. So, next, if we are to assume free will, does talking, or any sort of simple communication, violate free will? If we're sitting at a restaurant and I give you my perspective on whatever topic is at hand, am I violating your free will? I'd argue no. And if you'd like to disagree, well then, everyone has their free will violated on pretty much a daily basis, so I see no reason God could not violate our free will in such a way. So communication doesn't violate free will. Does God communicate with his creations? Well, unless you want to throw out religion entirely, especially Christianity, then yes, he is supposed to. So now a little thought experiment. Imagine you are speaking to a congressman and trying to convince him to change his vote on, let's say, socialized medicine. You also have the gift of time travel, so you can have this conversation over and over again. So you try different avenues of persuasion over and over until you hit on information and persuasion that would get him to change his vote. And so he does. This does not violate free will either. He is both capable of changing his vote and not changing his vote. You merely actualize the scenario in which he did change his vote. You did it on his terms. In this way, this is what God should be capable of doing, though through communication alone, actualizing a situation in which an individual chooses the moral good instead of the moral bad. There is no reason God should not be capable of doing this, and we should live in a world that has the capacity for evil, but without actual evil. God should know exactly what we need to come to a morally correct conclusion on our own terms. Now, if that isn't quite enough for you, a few other quick points. God supposedly designed us, but designed us with traits that promote morally bad choices. Things like racism are largely caused by our genes. Confirmation bias makes it difficult for us to even comprehend the correct moral choice. God made some seriously bad choices in our design that makes us entirely more prone to evil than a sentient creature would have to be. So, I have to say, the problem of evil makes it seem entirely unlikely, if not impossible, that a religious God exists, or any God that is omnibenevolent and omniscient. I'm setting this as a response to DarkAntics video because it's awesome and the reason for this video, but I'll also be forwarding it to some theists because I'd really like a response to this. Have a nice day. Honest Discussioner, out.